Alright everybody, I do a lot of these little YouTube videos on how I do these things, and this one seems to be a little bit more important than some of the minutia that I put up on YouTube. This is how I'm doing this fence staining, and I want to show you how quickly this dried. This is pretty recent, about 6 to 7 months old. Pressure treated pine down here in Houston, Texas. We just survived a 3-month-long 105-degree summer. It is now mid-November, and finally getting around to staining this fence. So you can see the two different colors of the fence. This stuff over here was done a few days ago, and it has not rained since. And then this stuff I just started today, and man, is this stuff ever drinking up the stain. So I'm having to work even quicker than I did the other day. Now the only difference being that the heat of the day just happened. It wasn't very hot out, but the sun was just on this fence line. Matter of fact, there you go, it's coming out from behind the cloud. You can see it as we speak, I believe. So maybe that's why it's absorbing more, is because this has been sitting, has been in the sun. So of course it's going to evaporate out pretty quickly. So I want to show you the process that I'm using, which involves this pump sprayer as well as a roller brush that's kind of lightly pre-saturated in stain. So what I'm having to do is do a quick little, like maybe a 2.5 foot long section using this pump sprayer. But it starts to want to dry up right about there, so I come back around real quick, and again try to push it one direction and it'll just flow onto the next board a little bit. Don't worry about overlap marks, because this product just does not show its overlaps very easily. So this seems to be working as a fairly decent technique. Try not to push hard down with the roller brush either. That seems to kind of be helping me out. You can use your sprayer to saturate your rollers as well. You'll see that any run marks just don't mean anything in the end. It just all blends in. But I'm having to hit these types of overhangs seem to work really well with this pump spray. You can just kind of saturate up underneath there, run this like this, and then quick, before you lose access to this rest of this stain, before it gets sucked in, you just hit it real quick with a roller brush and spread it around. It seems to be working all right. I went through 5 gallons of this stain using this technique on 215 boards is all that lasted. So 215 boards on one side, all good side like this too. I don't have any of the bad neighbor side of the thickness. So my roller brush is running a little bit low, so I'll saturate that bottom edge a little bit better. Give myself a good start. Then I can look way up here. These rock boards, they don't seem to absorb nearly as much. It just kind of sits on there wet, versus this pine just drinks it in. This is number 2 yellow pine, pressure treated. And again, it's been dried out significantly. Going for pretty good saturation. I want this to last a while. I don't want to have to do it again before we move. got a neighbor's fence on the other side of yours. Hang on, let me speak to that in a second. The other side of this fence is ours. This is the road that embedded here. But say if you had the neighbor's fence and you didn't want this stuff to spray through it and possibly drip on their side, influence their color, you can hit it at this angle, about a 45-degree angle, and the inside edges of the board seem to catch it pretty well. But make sure and check on that, maybe at a dead spot of the yard before you end up saturating your neighbor's fence as well, if they're not going to do the same thing in their backyard. It would look pretty ugly. Try to roller it up before it hits the ground. You know, you don't waste quite as much. This stuff is just under two right on today. Was this November 16, November 18, 2023. This stuff is going for right around 200 bucks for 5 gallons delivered via Amazon. It's a little, just slightly more expensive depending on what color you choose, especially if it's slightly more expensive at Lowe's and Home Depot right now in Houston. And you don't need a fancy sprayer for this at all. Use any $10, $15 garden pump sprayer is going to work just fine for this. I don't like to put a lot of that pump pressure in there either. You don't need a lot of pressure. It's just going to, all it does is it makes it mist a lot more. Like that underside. Then I do this with my roller brush just to kind of get that underside edge. And my brush is saturated. Make sure you hit that top edge of your fence really good. Maybe you do a double coating up on top, because that's the side that's going to get beat by the sun the most. I put a water-based opaque stain paint on that other side, as well as the top of this fence line. So that's what our community requires out here. And so that'll last a lot longer. Probably about 5 years, maybe 4 to 6 years, I'd say, to get out of that. Monotonous, but you get the picture. Keep it wet, and you'll find it a lot easier to roller brush this in. I think cedar goes a lot better because it's got a smooth surface on there and it doesn't absorb. You know, cedar's got that oil in it as well, so it's already going to try to be repelling some moistures. Works really well with these bottom edges. These cracks that are just so hard to get stain in with a brush or a roller. Make sure you clean off your boards really well before you get into this as well. You don't end up with dirt all over for no reason. It's not going to hurt nothing, but it ain't going to help you, that's for sure. The quicker you can get this build up on here like this, the spray build up, the quicker you can start roller brushing before it starts soaking in. So there is a fine line on your pump pressure to getting your best results on that without turning it into a real big mist. There's a big difference. About an extra 5, or the second 5 gallons to do about 100 and 15 pickets, I believe. So I'm going to have quite a bit of extra, so I don't have to be that conservative this time around. I wasn't sure on the first dose how many boards I was going to get per gallon with this real dried out wood. Again, it's in really good shape. This has not been cleaned at all. It's just been broom brushed. But I was thinking it was going to just suck up the stain. I just do a shorter run. You'll learn pretty quick how many square inches you can cover at one time with this technique if you're just drinking it. I would say that the manufacturer says you can just spray this stuff on. I am not doing that. I've got $200 for 5 gallons. You would be going for $1,000 worth of this stuff easily on the same size fence that I'm doing. I think I've only got 350 pickets or so that I'm doing. You go through a lot of stain. If you're trying to just hit this with a pump sprayer and let it drip down and waste itself out, that's kind of stupid if you ask me. And as you saw over on the other side, this stuff does dry a lot lighter than this. Well, I'd say about twice as light as it's going on is what it'll dry out at. Curious how this little base stain helps on this rock board. It helps a lot. Preserve it over the years. On that one. Losing pressure here, so it's just taking forever to cover, so I'll do a smaller area. Otherwise it's going to dry on me. I shouldn't say dry, it's going to absorb. It definitely is not drying very quickly. Got a few extra bucks to waste out. versus extra time to waste, putting it on heavier is not a bad thing. It'll save you a lot of time if you can drop a few more bucks and just let a little bit more absorb that, get on thicker. I'm trying to be a little conservative just to see what I could get out of this per board and how many years it lasts. You know, extremely pleased at how the product goes on, but is that any indicator of how long it's going to last? I have no idea. Pretty watery stuff. Barely thicker than water. Don't have good coverage left to right across these boards. It just makes it work a hell of a lot harder to kind of squeeze it in. So I haven't really paced it out, but I would assume we're somewhere around a board a minute, board every minute and a quarter. With the coverage. Anyway, that's going to be good enough on this video. Just wanted to show you basically what technique I'm using and what kind of coverage I'm getting.